Hello, my name is Dr. Ted Neal. I'm a clinical professor at the University of Iowa and a former public school teacher. I'm giving a little presentation today up to the Kirkwood Workplace Learning Connection about the potential to become a teacher and eventually to become a professor. So I want to thank you for taking the time to join me and to watch this video today. I hope you find some valuable information here as you are pursuing your life goals and your dreams as you venture into college or still in high school to considering where you want to go in the world. So let's see, I get my presentation to move. I was a student athlete and thespian for the Mount Vernon High School in Mount Vernon, Iowa. Involved in a little bit of everything. You're just kind of a standard, typical kid, I guess. Went to school every day, didn't really know what I wanted to do. Pondered life for a long time. I knew that I liked working with kids, but I really didn't do a lot in my preschool, my before college years, working with students. But that's where I grew up. I grew up local kid here, kind of involved in a lot of different things. From there, I eventually went to Cornell, right up the hill. It wasn't very far away from me. I lived on campus for 4 years. I was a first-generation college student. My parents did not attend college. My mom did a little bit of college, but I'm what you consider a first-generation college student. My time at Cornell, I initially showed up and I wanted to be a teacher. So I told my advisor. My advisor said, "No, you don't want to do that. There's no money in teaching." So I got talked into getting a degree in economics and business. And along the way, I got 3 BAs in my 4 years at Cornell in economics, business, and environmental science. After that, I didn't know what to do. I went and worked in the real world. I worked in the banking industry. I worked with a communications company. I eventually quit all my jobs and I moved to Mexico and did a bunch of rock climbing because I didn't really have a career path. And while I was down in Mexico, I kind of came to the conclusion that I wanted to teach. I knew that's what I wanted. I went back to my original college plan to be a teacher. So eventually left Mexico, came up here, back to Iowa, and went to the University of Iowa, where I picked up a teaching certification. It took me a year to complete that. Along the way, I picked up a minor in American history. So that certified me in grades 5 through 12 to teach in Iowa in social studies and in science. I did my student teaching in Australia, which opened up a whole other world to me, this world of international stuff. Prior to that, I'd been to Canada to fish, but I really hadn't done anything internationally. And you'll see as I talk here a little bit that international teaching experience in Australia kind of shifted a lot of my world. Upon my completion of my teaching degree, I eventually went on and got a master's in administration. And then eventually my PhD in science education from the University of Iowa. So I've got a handful of different degrees. But I look at it to say, as a first generation student, I welcomed learning and I didn't fade from it. So it's kind of been a lifelong journey. It took me a while to get through all that, and I might recommend a more straight path than that. But that's my journey. That's how I went through the ranks. Early on, after my time at Cornell, I went and worked at a place called Camp Manitowish in northern Wisconsin. I was teaching some outdoor education up there. I was coaching some wrestling for Mount Vernon and for Solon. And those couple early pieces really set me off before I moved to Mexico. Really kind of embedded that idea that I liked working with people, and I liked working outdoors, and I liked working hard, and I like to help people become better at what they wanted to do. And so whether it be from the outdoors experience or from coaching wrestling or how that worked, that kind of set the pathway for me, knowing that I liked that. I have a lot of cousins and others I've kind of had a great chance to influence over the years as well. So that's kind of some early stuff about my pathway. Once I did get my teaching license, I worked at Wilson Middle School, or at that time it was a 2 through 8 building. I taught 7th grade science at Wilson. I left there in 2004 to go to Portugal, and I taught overseas in Portugal for a couple of years, which continued my adventures overseas. At that time, I got into Portugal to teach. I had been to New Zealand and Australia and England, Ireland, Wales, most of Europe. So it kind of set off this little pathway. While in Portugal, I was there for a couple of years teaching at an American international school, which is an opportunity you have in education. So if you do pursue this goal of becoming a teacher, if that becomes something that you're passionate about, there is the opportunity to teach anywhere in the world. I have my own students right now teaching in Cameroon, Africa, in El Salvador, in Costa Rica, one's in Sweden. So I've got them kind of around the world as well. I eventually came back from overseas, took a job teaching middle school science again in Cedar Rapids at McKinley this time. And so I was at McKinley Middle School for 3 years. Loved it. Loved it. I was there when the flood happened in '08, and I got to design a unit to teach about the flood and the impact of flooding. And really, my teaching philosophy was about having kids investigate things that are real to them and relevant. We weren't big fans of textbooks and worksheets and that kind of stuff. So I taught a little bit differently than most people. Preparing for the summer, I did some work in Colorado doing some field geology coursework. I was just continuing to kind of learn on my own. And while in Colorado, I hit it off with the professor there, and he and I were working on a project back here trying to bring Colorado geology alive for everybody. And during that work in the summer, he told me he was retiring, and he offered me his job. And so I left public ed and took a job at the University of Iowa, and I just completed my 11th year now at Iowa. And so, middle school teaching for me was a blast. It was a torturous thing to leave the kids behind. But I knew to make the impact I wanted to make, I needed to teach more teachers how to teach differently, and really put a focus on learning. And so that kind of motivated me to make that jump to higher education. I've always found public teaching to be a great thing. And so even when I went to the university, I still kept my fingers out into the public schools, and I still work in a lot of public schools today. So these are some examples of some kind of the stuff that we do. I worked with a 5th grade school district in Cedar Rapids, and the picture on the right with the big balloons, we built a little cooler with a GoPro camera and a GPS locator and a weather balloon, and we sent it up to 120,000 feet until the balloon exploded. And eventually there's a little parachute that you can see on there, and when the balloon pops, it all returns to the earth. And so we go track down this box and are able to then look at the data and the pictures of the curvature of the earth and the darkness of space, even though it's the middle of the day. On the left-hand side, or the other side of the picture here, you'll see melting some crayons with kids and teaching them the metamorphic, igneous, and sedimentary rock cycles, and then doing some invasive bug species work and water quality testing. And those are actually some of my teachers, teaching them how to work with kids. And that's my big focus now. So even at the university, I still want to be in those public school settings as much as possible. And so we've partnered with a lot of schools trying to get my kids, my college students, practice working with in-service teachers and with students in the public school system. And so it gives me a great opportunity. I do some field days with Southeast Junior High School. I do some stuff with all the middle schools and different schools in the area. So it's a lot of fun for me to still get to go out and see and to work with kids. So when I got down to the University of Iowa, my primary job down there was teaching teachers how to teach. So I teach elementary teachers how to teach science, and a lot of my elementaries are somewhat terrified of science because they didn't have a good science experience growing up. There's a lot of memorize and regurgitate, and that wasn't really a great way to learn, as many of you know. And so we designed our courses differently. We designed our courses to be involving kids in things that are relevant to them and of interest to them. So as that played out over time in the last 11 years, I've had the opportunity to teach, because I teach science, I can teach kind of anywhere I want. And so I run a field geology course in Colorado. I take teachers out to Colorado. So these are all future science teachers that you see in that picture there. One or two of us a practicing teacher, actually, because I take some practicing teachers with me as well, and teaching them how does the geology of Iowa work compared to Iowa. And this summer, because of COVID-19, I can't go to Colorado. And so I'm actually teaching the geology of Iowa to my pre-service teachers in a different manner. And so it's one of the things I really like about teaching is that I can explore kind of anywhere I want to go, anywhere I want to see, things I'm interested in, and then bringing it to life. And so you notice there's no textbook, we're not reading, we're out actually exploring and investigating. So you launch stuff up into the air, you collect some bugs out of the stream, you go out to the mountains. And so teaching people how to do that is it's a skill. It's a skill that I have, and it's a skill I try to teach to other people. So in addition to that, I've had the great opportunity to expand beyond the borders of the U.S. So I've worked in Costa Rica, Nepal, Belize, many countries. These are just pictures of some kids from Nepal, from some really poor neighborhoods of Nepal. So you see their school. That's their school. It's a tin shanty with some wood to hold it up. And so what I do is I talk to my college students and say, where should we go explore? And so we have ended up in Costa Rica in the rainforest. I'm designing stuff in Australia right now. I'm hoping to put something together in Guam. I've got a faculty member joining us who's been teaching there for a while. I'm hoping to partner with him to put together a course in Guam. So basically, I find, as I ask my college students regularly, what do you think about science? Like, I said, yeah, I know. You don't like it. I said, but if you can tell me anything you've ever done doesn't involve science, I'll give you an A and you can leave right now. And they never can, because everything involves science. Like, it's a rainy day outside right now. Well, there's a ton of science going on, And so what I explain to them is they don't like how science was taught to them. And that's a global thing. It's a global issue. And so we try to expand our work, not just in the US, but anywhere. And so for me personally, I get to go and play and explore and teach kids all over the world, which is an amazing opportunity. So, my career as a teacher, it allows me to appreciate a lot of things. People say, what do you do for work? I say, I don't work. I've never really worked. I said, I play and I explore and I learn from other people, and I help other people learn from me, and we try to understand things. And that's the beautiful thing about teaching. You can make it work if you want to. You can make it where you fill out worksheets every day and grade a bunch of them and do things that way. Or you can teach where kids are interested in real world problems and they're trying to solve those problems. And so there's different ways to do that. So, one of the challenges, people say, well, what's the biggest challenge? Your brain never stops. I used to work construction, and I'd get up and I'd work 7 o'clock till 6 o'clock at night. At 6:01, my brain was done. I didn't think about working again until the next day. With teaching, even doing this, talk right now, I'm looking at my window going, wow, how can I leverage the water rolling down my street into a lab? Because you don't ever stop really pondering how to teach and how to teach better and how people learn and how to help people learn things that are important. And in today's world, there's a desperate need for having people learn how to learn. And so there's a picture down there of my classroom. So that's a place that I teach. These are a bunch of my students and a colleague of mine in a cowboy hat teaching out in the mountains of Colorado. So, for me, education has a lot of different layers, right? So, most of you who are watching this video are going to be high school students, sophomores, juniors, pondering, where do I go in life? And if you just complete your high school diploma, you can work in schools. You can be a paraprofessional. You can go to schools and you can work and you can help kids learn. And so you don't have to go to college to become a teacher. To be a coach in Iowa, you do. So I've coached a lot. I've coached boys and girls soccer. I've coached wrestling. I've coached some basketball, some football, and pretty much anything that you can coach. I've at least dabbled in some way, shape, or form. But to coach in Iowa, you have to actually get a coaching certificate. And Kirkwood has got a great program for the coaching endorsement for the state of Iowa. So if it's something you want to get into coaching-wise, that's a great way to do it. But then if teaching-wise, dibbling your toe into the paraprofessional world, just a high school diploma is a good way to see, is that really what you want to do? Because you don't want to go down this road and do all this college work if it's not for you. If you do decide it is something you want to do, you need a bachelor's degree, okay, to teach in a kindergarten through 12th grade classroom. Now you can start some of that education off at Kirkwood, which is a great way to do it. Just make sure that you're working closely with your advisor, because it's really hard for me when I'm advising kids who come and show up and they're like, yeah, I've got my AA, and I look at it, I'm like, yeah, you have an AA, but it's in a bunch of stuff that doesn't help you to be a teacher. And so if you know you're going to be a teacher and you want to do a couple of years at Kirkwood or a local community college, that's fantastic. Just make sure you take the right stuff. For me, after I got my teaching license, I went and got my master's. And so a master's would have allowed me to be an administrator, but it also allows you to teach at a community college. So if you want to be an instructor at, say, at Kirkwood or another community college, you can get a master's degree and you're then certified to teach there. To teach at the university like I do, you need a PhD to teach in the capacity that I do. There are some people who are adjuncts who work on master's degrees and teach that in that way. But for me, a PhD is needed to do the job that I do. So that's, it's a lot of college. It really is. It's a lot of work, but it's extremely rewarding at the end of the day. So that's something to consider. And as a first-gen college kid, I didn't have my parents explaining the road to me. I didn't know what the road was. I just knew that this semester I had these classes to take, and you put your head down, you do the work. And at the end of the day, it pays off, right? And so there's a long pathway to becoming a teacher, but that's okay, right? It's not a race, so to speak. Okay, so as you're pondering life and you're thinking, what do I want to do on a day-to-day basis? Wow, what I wanted to do is I wanted to play with kids, teach some really cool stuff, design some experiments. But I liked athletics. I was into school playing, and I was a thespian, and so I liked the musical and drama piece. I just run a talent show in Cedar Rapids. So having some of those pieces is important. But you also have your summers to explore and spring break. And I've got a couple kids, and so it allows me to be home when they're home and to see their sports when their sports are happening. And so there's a lot of scheduling advantages, and a teacher has some other huge perks too. Everybody say you don't make a lot of money. You don't make a lot of money, but you make enough, and you get a great retirement package. And most school districts have fantastic benefits packages. So there's a lot of perks to being a teacher at the end of the day. It's a frontline piece, and to me, there's a lot of challenge with it. This whole COVID-19 thing has provided a new opportunity to learn how to learn better and to learn how to help kids learn better. So what can you do? Maybe you're a sophomore right now, and you're pondering, man, what do I do with my life? Where am I wanting to go? Go volunteer. If you're really talented in a topic, English, social studies, doesn't matter. Go volunteer. Tutor some kids who are younger than you. Go down and volunteer at the 7th grade, the 6th grade, the 5th grade. Your school probably has some sort of an ambassador program that allows you to go down to the elementary schools or middle schools and to work with kids at different levels. Teach at a summer camp. If you're 16, you can teach at a summer camp. You can volunteer at School of the Wild. You can work at Indian Creek Nature Center. There's lots of places around where you can go out and get some experience. Big Brothers, Big Sisters. There's 1,000 kinds of organizations like that want people to come in, and so go and work and play and see, is this for you? And it's not for everybody, right? So that's a big question you have to ask yourself. You don't want to just wake up and go, oh, I guess I'm going to be a teacher, and then be miserable and not enjoy it and not thrive at it, right? Your kids need you to thrive at it. So it's important, especially as a sophomore, junior, senior, to realize you got your whole life in front of you, and it's a matter of picking which direction you want to go. In my big college advice, I've got a cousin our nephew who's dealing with this right now. I said, if you're going to go to college, do the whole semester, right? There are hoops, you're going to jump through them, you're going to jump through them well. Don't do half of a semester because they'll come back to haunt you, right? So if you decide, hey, I'm going to try college, you can't try it for a month. You can't try it for 2 months. You're in the whole thing, okay? So to ponder that, right? So, but going out and getting some experience, work with some people, see if teaching is what you like to do, right? So this is a picture of a couple of my young students helping teach a kid how to dissect a sheep eyeball, right? They're a couple biology teachers, right? The kids were just floored by this, okay? So these are some things that you can kind of get involved with, right? So why teach? Why would somebody want to be a teacher? For me, it's to give a gift of knowledge, to encourage people to see and understand and to question and to ask and to learn, and not to ponder just the boredom and tedium of not knowing things, right? So COVID-19 is this big piece, right? It's a huge thing happening right now. And I have a lot of people who are like, oh, this is fake news and that's true news and this is the truth and that's this and this is that. And, should I wear a mask? Should I not wear a mask? What's hand sanitizer do? What's it not do? How about, can I have people in my house? What's social distancing about? People need the skill set to be able to ask, what is that? How does it work? Why would I do these things, right? What is truth? As true as science can make it, which is truly just a current grasp of an understanding. There's not very many truths in science, but science is always looking to better understand. And this thing's such a powerful beast. Nobody knows what's going on with it, right? So to me, teaching gives me the opportunity to help people to wrestle with a real world problem with like COVID-19. For me, it gives me self-fulfillment. I know that I'm giving back. I know that I'm helping other people out. I'm helping other people to achieve their goals, their lifetime goals. I've got a lot of kids. I remember I had a student when I taught in Cedar Rapids, and he wasn't the most academically talented young man, but he was a great kid. I really, really, really liked that kid. And he came to me in 7th grade, and the 6th grade teacher said, he's not going to amount to a whole lot. He and I worked together, and he came and found me after he'd finished his master's in engineering. And he said, you believed in me. He said, I knew when I met you that you believed in me, and I knew I could do this. And I have many students who reach out to me with stories similar to that. One young girl who pulled straight F's in middle school in sixth grade and got to seventh grade. And I made her a deal. I used to bring my dog to school. I said, hey, if you bring your homework in every day for all your classes, you can walk my dog at lunch. She's like, really? And so she did all that, earned a 2-year scholarship to go to Kirkwood as a top improving student. So, and a first gen student. So you can really truly make a difference in the lives of people, which to me is like the greatest gift you can have, right? So I see a ton of reasons why I teach, right? And those could be reasons why you teach. And there's a lot of other great reasons. Teachers, a lot of 21st century skills. You've got to be able to manage your time. You've got to be able to communicate. You have to be adaptable. I mean, Jesus, COVID-19 taught me nothing. It's like, how do I be adaptable? How do I now teach online? How do I do an Iowa geology class online? How do I help my own kids learn math and social studies and science while at home? How do you balance all right? Being a problem solver, there's a lot of stuff that just comes up and you've got to just solve the problems and roll with the punches. You've got to be a good listener. I've had a lot of kids who've had a lot of struggles along their journey in life. And so being able to listen to kids and where they're at is a huge piece, and being compassionate. Not everybody walked in the shoes you walked in, right? Some of you have a nice silver spoon in your mouth right now, and that's great. That's fantastic. But a lot of kids don't. And a lot of kids struggled growing up. I didn't come from money. I didn't come from a lot of resources, and that was okay, right? But to teach you to be compassionate about others and where other people are at in their journey. So that caring piece is something teachers have to have, and you have to have the initiative. You have to have the initiative to, sign up for college and go to student teaching and go to practicums, and you got to be willing to help other people and help other people succeed, So, career advice at the end of the day, if you're going to choose to go to a Kirkwood or a local community college first, which is fantastic advice, make sure you do it appropriately and you take the right classes, and then know where and why do you transfer, right? So I teach at the University of Iowa. The University of Iowa is the top-ranked college of education in the state of Iowa. Our programs are in the top 5%, 2%, something like we're 17th ranked for my secondary program right now in the nation. So we know that we're a very, very good college for preparing students. We're the top in the state of Iowa. And we're working to build streamlined partnerships with Kirkwood, where you come in and right out of high school, you have 2 years. And here are the classes you take at Kirkwood. And after those 2 years, you transfer to Iowa, and 2 more years, you graduate with your bachelor's degree, and you're teaching science 4 years out of school. Now, granted, you can go straight to a college, you can go straight to a university as well, to get a teaching license. But so those are some options that you have. So, that's kind of the nuts and bolts of it. I thank you for taking the time to visit with me, or listen to me visit at you, I guess. My ending picture is a big elephant, big bull elephant missing a tusk. It makes me just ponder and wonder as a teacher, wow, what journey did that guy go on? Where's he at? And I took that picture and I was in Africa a couple of years ago at a science education conference. So that's my advice to all of you. I wish all of you all the best. If you just graduated in this COVID-19 mess, you're stronger for it. Leverage that. If you're sophomores, juniors, you're working your way through wherever you're at in the program. You're old enough to start exploring your interests. So go out and start exploring those and seeing where the world's going to take you. Don't be afraid of the path changing. Mine was teacher and business, and then rock climber, and then back to teaching, and then a college professor, and who knows where I'll be next week. That's part of the journey. So I thank you all for your time joining me and watching this. If you have questions, feel free to reach out to me. My name is Neal. I'm at the University of Iowa, and I'm happy to help you guys out. And good luck to all of you. Cheers.